I'm Kenton Claremont, and you're listening to the Train to Hunt podcast. Dude, there he is. He's coming in. Come in. Get ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Train to Hunt. We have a special guest today, the two-time Women's Open national champ, Shanley Brezen? Shanley Brezen. You guys, I always mess that up. I'm sorry, Shanley. But I know a lot of you have been asking and probably have wondered, as I have. I don't really know Shanley that well, and so I'm excited about this interview just as much as you guys are to find out a little bit more about Shanley and her background. And so, Shanley, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from and where, you know, your fitness influences came from, and, you know, how long you've been shooting the bow, that kind of thing.
All right. Dive in. I am born and raised in Fairbanks, Alaska, so that's right in the center of the state of Alaska. I was there until I was 18 years old. Grew up hunting, fishing with my family. A lot of my family is from the middle of nowhere in Alaska, a little town called Delta Junction, which very few people have probably ever heard of. But they do a lot of subsistence hunting. So every year we had unlimited tags in the family. So it's a little different than a lot of people grew up. And then...
Shanley, let me stop you for just a second. Explain what subsistence hunting is.
So subsistence is there's a lot of people in Alaska, like where you live in the middle of nowhere, you get subsistence tags. So you get to hunt areas that other people don't get to hunt. You get more tags than normal people get, and you pay nothing for them. So every year, every member of my family that lives in that town would have, 2 caribou tags that you could fill, and you could hunt areas that people don't normally get to hunt. So they're typically areas that were, had more animals than... Yeah. So
And from what I understand, Shanley, that's because it's in the middle of nowhere, right?
Correct. You need it to live. That's how you survive. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't just run down to Albertsons.
No. Yeah. My grandparents, they live an hour and a half from the nearest area that has a grocery store.
Yeah.
They have like a little market in town, and that's about it. And a post office. No stoplights, that kind of town.
Yeah, I've been to Delta Junction.
Oh, you have?
Oh, yeah. My brother was stationed in Fairbanks for 9 years, so I spent a fair amount of time in Fairbanks and
oh, you did? Yeah,
the surrounding areas. So, yeah,
that's
I know.
My hometown.
I know very well. I know it's grown a lot probably since you've left.
Oh, yeah, it's grown a lot for sure. Delta hasn't, but Fairbanks has.
Fairbanks has that whole development there with is it Cabela's? Yeah, Cabela's and
yes.
And that whole thing's got to be brand new since you left it when you were.
Yeah, I mean, I go back every year, and every year I'm like, wow, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
It's shocking.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead. So you grew up in Fairbanks hunting.
Yep, and then we have. Since I was 5 or 6 years old, we've had a boat docked in Valdez, Alaska, so that's in south central Alaska. Mm-hmm. So grew up catching, halibut bigger than me, and I have a lot of my best memories there. But yeah, and then when I was 18, I left and went to school in Oregon. I went to Western Oregon University on a softball scholarship. I played Division II for them. I was an outfielder. In high school, I played softball and volleyball, so when it came to college, I had to make a choice which one I wanted to play. So I went with softball, and they had a forensic science program at Western Oregon University, and that's what I really wanted to do. I had the best of both. Played 4 years there, and then after that, I moved to New York City. I was in New York City for 5 years. Did not want to live there that long, but I did.
Whoa! Why New York? Like, that's a pretty big jump.
It's a big difference. It was a huge culture shock for me in a lot of different ways, but it was a really good growing experience as well. I went there. I had a job with the NYPD as a forensic scientist, so I do crime scene response and latent fingerprint comparisons. That's my day job. Yeah, so originally I worked for NYPD for almost 5 years, and then came here to Colorado because I wanted to get back to a little bit more familiar area. And I played a lot of travel softball in high school. I came to Colorado a lot. Had a lot of the things I loved about Alaska here. The mountains, skiing, hunting, fishing, all those great things. A lot of outdoor activities, and I missed that living in New York. So, yeah, Colorado is like the perfect middle ground. I love Alaska, but the winters are real harsh. I did not want to go back there for the winters.
Yeah. 40 below zero on the regular and dark at the same time. Right. So
the darkness is what gets you. The cold is the cold you get used to. Like people are like, oh my gosh, 40 below, I can't even imagine what that's like. But you just don't go outside. It's like Arizona when in the summer. You just don't go outside.
Right. Simple. Just don't go outside.
Right. But when you go to school and it's dark and you get out of school and it's dark. I mean, the shortest day of the year, the sun comes up at 11 a.m. and sets at 2 p.m. That's insanity.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You can't live like that. Well, a lot of people do, but
that's the one thing that really would deter, I think, a lot of people from going to Alaska and living in Fairbanks is the fact that during the coldest month of the year, it's not only cold, but it's dark for a while.
Yeah.
So that's I imagine that moving to Colorado was great in terms of, man, during the wintertime we have sunshine and snow and Colorado's beautiful. Beautiful spot. So so you've moved to Colorado now. You're working for the Colorado Police Department?
I work for the Colorado Bureau of Investigation to work kind of like the FBI for Colorado. We service the entire state, so whoever needs our help. Because we have a lot of small towns here in Colorado as well, a lot of small mountain towns out in the plains. So we help out those agencies that don't have the resources that some of the bigger, DPD and Denver Police Department have and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you, where does fitness fall into all this? Like, I know that you're pretty steeped in some of the local gyms, and tell us about that. Yeah,
so after softball ended, I'm a really competitive person, as people probably would have guessed. And I didn't have an outlet for that anymore. So I started running half marathons when I lived in New York. And that helped for a little while. And then I found CrossFit in 2013. And so I started doing CrossFit, loved it, started doing a little coaching here and there. And then along the way, I started shooting a bow. And then I found Train to Hunt and, Alpha Bowling Challenge and those kind of, biathlon type events. And they're just a lot of fun. So I'm really competitive. I still do CrossFit competitions locally. But I need an outlet for that,
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think it's one of the things that CrossFit did, because I discovered CrossFit in 2008, and being a former athlete and really somebody who plays sports their whole lives and then gets into even, goes as far as playing college sports. And I think even more so if you play college sports, because college sports is a lot different than high school sports in that it takes a ton of dedication. It's like a job. You're practicing all of the time. You're thinking about it all the time. You play tons of, practices aren't just like your typical hour and a half after school. It's like
absolutely. And I think it takes your fitness. It takes your fitness in a whole different direction, right? Where some people, there are people I work with where they're like, oh, some days I just won't make it to the gym because I don't feel like it. And that's not an option for me. To me, it's part of my day. It is my job also. I go to work, I go to the gym, and then I go home and I can relax and unwind. It's not an and or. It's an and, not an or, I guess.
That's right. And it's a great outlet for ex-athletes, right? Because it kind of nourishes that competitive spirit that we all have and desire we have to get out and test ourselves and find out find out like, okay, do I have what it takes today? And like you said, if you, you know, it sounds like we're built a lot the same in that I feel like on a daily basis, if I'm not testing myself, like I'm not, admittedly, I'm just not very fond to like communicate with, like, because
grumpy, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of addicted to that whole, the endorphin dump and like the test and like, I just see the world different after my workout than I do before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just like with my son, you gotta run him and get some of the energy out, or he's a nightmare. I mean, and we're very similar. He's 3, I'm 32. It's the same thing though.
Yeah, you gotta run him. Gotta run him.
Yeah, gotta run him.
Then you can be around him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. My kids are exactly the same way. So you have a 3-year-old son, and you live in Colorado, and you train Do you train every day?
I train 5 days a week. I think it's just hard, you know, being a working mom, working out 7 days a week. I used to do 6. I always feel like a rest day is completely necessary. But yeah, even on my rest days, I'm, you know, at the park chasing him around or, you know, doing something fun with going swimming with him, you know, so it's not sit on the couch and do nothing on the rest days. But yeah. I try to do 5 days a week now.
Okay. So
and I'm doing CrossFit, and doing weighted hikes. So that's primarily what I do. I try and get at least one hike a weekend. Try and do a little more as we head up towards season, competition season, and obviously, and then hunting season.
Okay. So do you feel like those weighted hikes? Number one, how far and how much weight are you talking about?
So I don't go that heavy that often. I feel like it's really hard on your joints to go really heavy often. So I'm typically going to do between 25 and 45 pounds. I hike a lot with my son in my pack. I just throw him right in my backpack. He likes to stand up in there and just hang out. So he's almost 40 pounds now. So I do that a lot. Yeah, and it's a good way for us to be together. He's not quite big enough to do some of the inclines that I do.
Right.
So it's easier to just throw him in.
Well, here's an interesting question that I think you're one of our only competitors that can answer this question. Is do you feel that the weighted pack training helps not only in the Train to Hunt challenge events, but also in your CrossFit events or CrossFit challenges?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like leg endurance is something that, I don't know, I tell people that I do CrossFit with, I'm like, until you get out on the mountain and you hike with a pack like that, you don't get that stimulus in the gym. You have to do that. It's really hard to get that same exact stimulus. They'll bring people out that have never done it before and they think they're fit, and then they're like, dang, like I can't breathe, my legs are killing me, like, and the next day they're like my butt, my quads, like, you know, my calves, like just muscles they just don't feel normally. So I think that it's a really unique combo of cardio and it's just that muscular endurance.
Sure. Yeah.
So
I agree 100%. I think it's one of the things that I believe that is important to anybody's like well-rounded fitness is that you have to go out and kind of deal with the elements. And I'm not talking about having to deal with like the rain and snow and heat and that kind of stuff. But for the most part, like CrossFit gyms are a controlled environment with very standard equipment, you know, bars and boxes and that kind of thing. Whereas if you put weight on your back and go out and have to deal with the terrain, whether it be, you know, unpredictable steepness and like foot placement and
because that ankle stability too is something that's not something that you get tested as much unless you're doing it. Because I'll have some hikes where my ankles are sore. Like, that's weird, you know. But that comes from like CrossFit is great, is awesome for a baseline of fitness.
For sure.
For setting that baseline high, and then all the extracurriculars you do where you get out in the real world and test that baseline of fitness, that's where you get like that extra little edge, you know? So I wouldn't trade utilizing CrossFit as my baseline of fitness, just because I think it gives me, overall fitness for when I'm not on the mountain too. So there are a lot of people that are like, I only train with a pack weight for hunting. Well, that's great if you want to get in shape for, your long hikes into the backcountry. But what about the rest of the year? Don't you want a baseline of fitness for the rest of the year?
Right. What are you gonna do the rest of the year?
Exactly. So I know a lot of people like that, where they're like, oh yeah, I start doing hikes 3 months before season and work my way up. Well, that's cool, but what about the other 9 months of the year? What are you doing then?
Yeah, exactly. What are you doing for mobility? What are you doing for absolute strength? What are you doing for,
how are you working on your stabilizer muscles?
Yeah,
how are you keeping your risk of disease down? Those are all factors that some people don't think about.
Absolutely. So, all right. So let's jump into competition this year and tell me about how you train for nationals. Did you just do what you just mentioned? Basically, I did high intensity training mixed with pack hikes, or did you do something special this year?
No, that's exactly what I did. I started doing some more hikes leading up to nationals. I had a feeling we might go heavier this year, so I tried to do a few more heavier ones, longer. Like I said, because I don't typically like to do that because it is hard on your joints. So I did do some more of that though. And yeah, I was glad I did. I feel like in hindsight, maybe I should have done a little bit more, because that was definitely the hardest training hunt I've ever done. And I've done that was my fourth one, including qualifiers and nationals. So it was definitely the hardest one I've ever done.
Yeah, and by design, it was supposed to. When I feel like, especially nationals, if we're gonna actually claim that the people who win nationals are the fittest bow hunters in the country or fittest archers in the country, it has to be, super hard. And I believe that,
absolutely,
and I think that it was amazing this year that everybody passed the test. Like everybody made it. Like it's the first nationals in 5 years that nobody's dropped out.
I know, it's like you raised the bar higher and then everybody stepped up to meet it, and that was really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. What was your best memory of nationals this year? Like, what was the thing that sticks out in your mind about nationals?
Oh, I remember this year. Other years as well, but this year I remember walking in and looking around, because I didn't get to go to a qualifier this year because I couldn't make Colorado. But I walked up and I saw all the girls and I was like, dang, there's some fit girls here this year. I was like, this is going to be fun. And then, when you guys announced that first event, I remember thinking, wow, okay. And I remember thinking to myself too, like, that's going to be real. I was like, that's half my body weight. That's half my body weight. That's going to be heavy. I was like, I wonder how that's going to go for a 5K up the mountain.
Right.
So that's not something I've done before. So typically when I load on 60, I'll do the fire road, which is about 2 miles. So I was excited.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people's. That's what a lot of people were talking about, was that first announcement. And I think that 60 pounds for the women, I can tell you, the total transparent, I was a little worried about that weight. I was like, man, that might be a little bit heavy for the girls. And then after watching you guys handle that weight and get to the top, I was like, I felt a little bit better afterwards. I was like, okay, it was really heavy, but it didn't kill anybody,
No. It wasn't overly heavy. It was just heavy and long. It was the combo of the two. Yeah. So I feel like if you were training the way you should have trained for nationals, you've carried that weight before, but you may not have carried it for that distance and on that incline, that elevation gain. And we started it. Didn't we start at like 9,000 feet? Like, what is the base of Powderhorn?
I think Powderhorn is like 85. 100, and I think we climbed up to like right around 10.5 or something like that. It was like 2,000 to 2,100 foot of elevation gain in 3.2 miles.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, I live in Denver, so I'm at 5,000 already. But 10,000, that's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody's come from sea level to Denver and worked out, they know what that feels. You know what that difference feels like.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big change.
Yeah, that event had a little bit of everything, for sure.
It did.
For sure. So
it was super fun, though.
Yeah, and it was fun to watch. It's inspiring. It's every year that I do the nationals, and I watch how much everybody puts into it, and then how supportive everybody is of each other. I get really inspired, and I'm just like, it makes everything worth it. Like, it makes all the work that goes into organizing, the year's race season and nationals, it makes it worth it. And so I'm just as inspired, I think, as anybody would be, to watch you guys get out there and tackle, those types of just grueling events. So,
yeah.
Real quick, Shanley, speaking of that event, everybody is going to run up in an event like that, and by design, everybody's going to come up against the quit monster or the slow down monster. Everybody. And I said that at some point during this event, everybody's going to stop racing and just try to keep going. And so when you run up against that, and you love that. What is it that keeps you going? Like, what is the self-talk? What's the voices sound like in your head when things get really rough?
I think the first part, the challenge course part, that was a race to me. I was racing. Racing against all the other women. I knew what pace I could maintain in order to still make good shots. Once I made my final shot, I sprinted through that finish line because I wanted that split time. And then as I was putting my pack on, I gave myself time before I put myself under that tension of the 60 pounds. So I was still very much in control in that section. I could see where Jess was. She was the next closest behind me. So I knew I had a few minutes. And then I started going up the mountain, and I remember immediately being like, okay, you have to control your breath. So I started that mountain very slowly, because I watched some of the previous heats where they went out quick, and then they just stopped, like where everybody could still see them, they just stopped. And I remember thinking, oh, I feel so terrible for them. I don't know if they're going to make it. And in my head, when I started that and it started to get hard, I was like, I don't want anybody watching me climb this mountain right now ever think she is not going to make it. So I didn't stop one time. I just kept going. And I just remember that was my motivator until I got out of sight from people. And then it's just you in the mountain, right? So you have no idea. We did switchbacks the whole way up for people who weren't there. And you have no idea where the next person is. So I didn't know how far Jess was behind me. And I knew that pack wasn't as big of a pack for her as it kind of was for me. So I knew she could probably truck up that mountain pretty quick. So I just kind of kept telling myself that she was on the next switchback below me, and I had to keep going. And so even anytime there was a slight downhill at all, I would run it. I'd lean forward and just let the bag weight carry me. And I could get a little reprieve from the weight on those times. And then other times I would switch between, using my hands to hold more of the weight on my shoulders versus my hips, and just kind of alternate that. And that's what I do. I kind of distract myself when it gets really hard and I get tired. It's either playing that game where that person's right behind you, or I'm adjusting, where I'm holding most of the weight. So just those kind of games that you play. And I kept looking at my watch. I made it to the halfway point at a certain time, so I doubled that time and added a couple minutes, to give myself grace, obviously. And then I was like, okay, that's as far as you have to go. That's it. And so you play that mind game too, where you know exactly how much longer you have to work. So it's kind of like CrossFit, where I'm used to working against the clock. So then that way you give yourself a clock this is how much more work I have to put in. So I just play those kind of games with myself, and it helps distract me from what I'm doing.
I think that's my MO as well. Like, just distract. I play the distraction game. Like, I look up and I'm like, okay, I'm going to walk to there. And then once I get to there, I'll pick something else to take out. Or I'll count my steps. I'm like, okay, I'm going to count 100 steps. Once I get to 100, I keep going. But it's just something to distract your mind from thinking about anything. Like, think about anything other than, like, how much further you have to go. Or
how much it hurts.
Or, man, this is a lot. Because it's easy to get down that rabbit hole, and you have to catch yourself early, right, Shanley? Like, early. As soon as those thoughts of, like, man, this is heavy, or gosh, like, I can't believe, I mean, I'm only halfway. Like, as soon as those thoughts get in your head, it's distraction time. Like, turn it around. Like, oh, I'm already halfway. Or, man, she's right behind you. Don't stop now. Like, even if you know she's clear back there, you're like, you convince yourself, right, that she could be right around the corner. Like, keep going.
And then at one point I was thinking too, I was like, if you go a little faster, you should beat all the guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Last year nationals, I was like, in that part of the course, the backpack or whatever, I was like third overall, and I was like, dang, I was like, man, I could have got. I was like, but they're really fast, like Trevor, like they're insanely fast. But I remember this year, I was like, oh, if you go a little faster, if you run this little bit right here, you might beat the guys. If you run this little bit right here, you might beat the guys.
Keep it positive. I know. It's awesome, because when you can't convince yourself to go faster because somebody's right on your tail, you do stuff like that, right? You go, oh, but if I go faster, I could beat the guys. And then
I know, and I was only like 5 minutes behind them too.
You were close, girl. You were close, man. It was fun to watch, and like just physically how you kind of dominated. I mean, let's call it what it is. You kind of dominated the women's open physically, and shooting wise. Let's move on to shooting, because that's a whole nother game, right? Like, it's a whole nother mental game. And how much did you shoot coming into it? You did mention that you've only been shooting for a handful of years, right?
Yeah, 3 years.
3 years, and then so how do you prepare for the shooting aspect, because it's a pretty big part of the Train to Hunt challenge?
Yeah, well, I try and do a lot of 3D courses. So I went, the closest one to me is No Limits Archery, so I go there and shoot 3Ds there, because that's the more real life scenario to me. And that's what I need to get better at. The one thing I didn't get to do as much as, just because I just don't have the access to it, were the angle shots, the steep angle shots. And every year leading up to Train to Hunt, I work a lot on my guessing yardage, because that's a huge factor in this, right? It doesn't matter how good a shot you are, if you're off by 10 yards, you're not going to make a good shot. And that's even a bigger factor for women, because we have, we're pulling back less pounded at a shorter draw length, and so my drop off is much more than a man pulling 70 pounds with a 30-inch draw length. So that's something that's really important for me to work on leading up to Train to Hunt. And I think Jess and I might have tied for first in the shooting. So I was pretty happy with that. I mean, the course was difficult with the steep angles, some of the steep angles that we had. But yeah, it was good.
What's the difference? Like, what's the mind shift from physically competing to the shooting aspect? Like, is there things that you have to focus on a little bit more? I mean, for example, going into your competition, I'm sure you have like a pre-competition like routine that you do as far as your nutrition and your thought process and your warm up. Does that carry into your shooting? Like, do you have a pre-shot mental game that you play before every shot? Is it something that you just it's real simple, or it's real complex? How do you handle each shot?
Each shot, so I try and take a big deep breath before I start each shot, just to kind of calm my nerves. Obviously, I'm more confident in my physical ability than my shooting ability, even though that's come a long way. So it's more, making sure I'm staying in that positive headspace, because as soon as you start to get into a negative headspace, just like in working out, your shooting goes to shit also. Oh, sorry.
Yep. No, it's okay.
But so it's really important to have that positive self-talk too. And if I have a bad shot, it's really important for me to stay in that positive headspace. Sometimes I'll put music on or something just to get me happy dancing or whatever, just to get me positive again if I make an error. So those are just little games that I play with myself. I split pins, so I'm constantly doing math in my head, trying to decide what I want to do on each target. Where playing the games, picking my distances when we're guessing our distances. So I don't know, a lot of that. Yeah. I've learned to go with my gut when we have when we have to judge the yardage ourselves. Because every time I second guess myself, it's wrong.
Yeah. Isn't that funny that I don't know how many people say the exact same thing, and I've been there where you're like, all right, that you look at it instantly, you're like, that's 32 yards. And then somebody shoots and misses or something like that, and you're like, oh, maybe it's further than that. Maybe it's 40 yards. And so you kind of talk yourself into, okay, maybe it's further than that. And then you overshoot it, and you're like, really? I was right the very first time. What am I doing? So
exactly.
It's confidence, right? And I think that one of the strategies that I use, it'd be interesting to know if you use it, is I really try to stay in my own world, whether it's physical competition or shooting competition. I try to just stay in my own little world and almost ignore what everybody else is doing, because I don't want to be influenced by everybody else. I want to just kind of stay with my game plan, whether it be shooting or physical, competition. If somebody's, way ahead of me, I don't want to have the tendency to overstretch myself, because I know pretty well what my pace what kind of pace I can keep up. Or shooting wise, what the example we just gave, if I think, okay, that's 30 yards and someone undershoots it, and then I'm like, oh, I don't even care that they undershot. I'm going to stick to my game plan. So I do very similar, because I think a lot of times in this competition, and then in alpha too, people see my physicality and they immediately think I have to go hard to keep up with her. I gotta keep up with her, and then they end up red lining because they don't stick to their own game, and then fall short. And when really, if you went at your own pace, you'd make better shots, and maybe you'd outshoot me. So you have to play to your strengths. Yep. I think sometimes people do get caught up in who they're racing against. It's okay to play that game if people are a few steps off of you, right? But if they're bounds ahead of you in one category, but you're way better at this movement, or you have to play to those strengths and not get too caught up with what they're doing. And I definitely do that in both shooting the 3D course, because we always shoot with people who are close to us in the standings in our division, which is awesome, because it's awesome, but it also can go really poorly too. If you get caught up in, oh wow, she shot 3-5, so that's 3 targets, and I had a negative. Oh man, I really have to make this next shot. And if you get too caught up in that, that can be really detrimental too. So I think you just have to stick to your game plan and know that you're going to have a few flub ups, but that's okay. Yeah, absolutely. Have a plan and stick to the plan, I think, is a really good way of approaching competition. Right. Have a plan and stick to the plan. And
right. Because you can in fitness, you can always turn on the gas at the end if your plan was a little slow. So
That's right. Yeah. And if it was a little slow, then okay, well then what? Next time I'm capable of a little bit more, because competition is a little bit different than practicing. I know that when back in the day when I used to do CrossFit competitions, every competition you set a PR, right? Whether it be your deadlift or your clean and jerk or whatever. Mm-hmm. So competition, it can either bring out the best in you and have you, doing better than you've ever done, or, in some cases, if people let their nerves get the best of them, they just underperform. And so
which one were you? You were always hitting the PRs in your competition?
Yeah, I was always.
Were you were you a good test taker?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, so I have this theory. It's the same thing, right? The people in school that were really good in class with terrible test takers are the same people who are practice players and then comes to game day and it doesn't work out. Versus the other version where they're yeah, we practice, we do whatever, but on test day or game day, that's when we shine. You know what I mean? So I feel like there's two different types of people and they're the same people.
I think that there's a lot to be said about that, right? Because the test, regardless of what that is, whether it be cognitive or physical, is the pressure. Okay, now I have to prove that I've prepared for this.
Mm-hmm. And it's the confidence. It's all confidence.
Yeah.
Because those two players both have the same, the same skill set, but the one has confidence in the work they put in and the other doesn't.
So in the sports psychology space, that's called trusting your preparation. You can prepare all you want, but come competition day, if you don't trust your preparation and you tend to overthink it and overcomplicate things, and then you underperform, whether it be cognitive or physical. And so I would say that I've never really been somebody who overthinks things. I just get after it and let the chips fall where they may. And I think and I like the pressure. I actually performed in college when I would have a paper due, say, on Friday. I wouldn't even, and we had 2 weeks to work on it. I wouldn't even start that thing until probably Wednesday night at the earliest. I'd sit down and bang it all out, and I'd do fine at it. But it's an interesting theory, and I think it probably has a ton of merit in that. If you are a good test taker in college or high school, whatever, you're probably also somebody who steps up during competition and performs well as well. That's interesting. So okay, so wrap this up. One more question, and actually a couple more questions, and then we're going to wrap it up. One is, what are you going to do? What did you learn about maybe your preparation and where you really excelled and really fell short is in the competition? What are you going to do different in the off season to prepare for hunting season that maybe you learned at the Train Hunt Challenge?
One thing that I learned, it's not necessarily a lack in my preparation for this year, but it was a lack in my game day nutrition. Because that event was a 2-hour-long event, and I had completely depleted my stores of energy and calories by the end of that 2-hour event. So next time, and then also, while I'm hiking in the backcountry this year, I just want to make sure that I'm fueling properly. Because I think that's a huge that was a huge piece that was missing for me. I trained to hunt this year. So it wasn't necessarily my performance, but my recovery on the back end fell short because I didn't properly fuel during the competition. So I think during my hikes this year, whatever, I'm going to make sure that I have enough carbs with me to sustain. So that's definitely a takeaway from that, because I don't typically work out that hard for 2 straight hours. And I won't be hiking that hard for 2 hours hunting this year, but I will be hiking longer than that. So I think it's really important to make sure that you're feeling your body properly and knowing what your body needs.
Agreed, and it's a great lesson to learn, the nutrition piece of that, because it's easy for all of us, especially in the backcountry or hunting, and I mean, we could say the backcountry or the tree stand, whatever, is that you just you get so wrapped up in what you're doing in the hunting space that you forget, I haven't eaten for 4 hours or 6 hours or better.
Right.
And then
I haven't stopped moving the whole time. Yeah.
Right. And then suddenly you're into an animal and you got it on the ground and now you're excited and you get it all cut up and you start out and you're just totally bonking. You start cramping and you're like, what's going on?
Right. And then you crash once the adrenaline's gone.
Right.
Which is exactly what happened.
Yeah. So that's a great lesson to learn. What hunts do you have planned for the fall? What do you got going this fall?
I have I have 2 different backcountry elk hunts. Just doing public land hunts here in Colorado. I'm going opening weekend and then closing weekend this year is the 2 that I have. I'm going 2 different 3-day hunts.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I was hoping to get home this year to hunt with my sister, but it just wasn't in the cards this year. Too busy with work.
Yeah, you seem like with work and being a mom, I mean, you got a lot going on, but
I do, yeah, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, right?
That's how I live.
Yeah, you got to be busy, because if you're not, if life doesn't keep you busy, you're going to find something to keep you busy. Like,
exactly.
Yeah,
I'm not a sit around type at all. So.
No. So, okay, last question. What would you say to people that are hesitant about coming out and doing the challenge? I know that there's a lot of excuses, and there's some valid excuses, but what would you say to somebody that's maybe on the fence about coming out and doing a qualifier and just like, oh man, I don't know if I can do that?
I would say you have to take a leap. Anybody who's on the fence, it's so much fun, and the community is always there to lift you up and help you through things. Like, my first one was really scary for me too. Whether you're not confident in your shooting, or you're not confident in, your physical capacity, like that. Train to Hunt is there for you to learn what areas you need to grow in. It's there to reveal your weaknesses, and that's exactly what it's done for me over the last few years. It's revealed different weaknesses, and then the next year I make it my mission to work on those weaknesses. So I think that's what you need to take from it. Not you need to come out of the gate being the best person out there, because you don't, and that's not how I started either. So don't get caught up. It's like when people watch the CrossFit games and they see all these really really fit people, and they're like, oh, I can't do that CrossFit thing. Well, no, because they're professional. You know what I mean?
Right,
so,
of course.
But you have to take the first step in anything that you do, and just give it a try. And if anybody has any kind of, competitive bone in their body, like, it's just so much fun to get out there and see where you're at, see where you stack up against other backcountry hunters. And like I said, reveal some weaknesses. So I would definitely encourage people to give it a try if they haven't. Right
on. And I think you brought up a really good point and everybody knows about the CrossFit games and CrossFit competitions, but you bring up a good point in that not everybody's going to be able to do the CrossFit games. And yeah, there's very few percentage of people in the world who are ever going to get a chance to stand on that stage, but millions of people do the Open. And that's really what the qualifiers are at the Train to Hunt race series. It's an entry level, and just come out, dip your toe in the water, and get to meet people and experience it, and just see, just have fun with it. And who knows, maybe it'll inspire you to maybe shoot for the next level. So I appreciate your recommendation to people, and I appreciate what you do for the community, Shanley. And I look forward to seeing you come out again next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be there.
Well, good luck this fall. Thanks again. And you guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. And Shanley Brezen.
Yes.
Yes, I got it right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it, Shanley. Have a good weekend, good fall, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Awesome. Bye, Ken. Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.